Welcome YouTubers to another episode in my Grammar Hero series. In today's video, I'm going to discuss just about everything you need to know about circles in order to perform your best on the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That is the ASVAB, notably the Mathematics Knowledge Subtest. More specifically, I plan on covering the following topics in today's video. I'm going to discuss how to find the circumference as well as the area of a circle. In addition, I'm going to show you how to find the area of just a sector of a circle. And to end today's video, I'll do a word problem involving your knowledge of circles. Let me just stress this before we get started. Again, the ASVAB itself is not a difficult test. Again, a lot of people probably know how to find the area and circumference of circles already. That said, you're not given a formula sheet on the ASVAB, and nor are you allowed to use a calculator. And that's usually where most people have a lot of trouble. Again, these two formulas are things you're going to have to commit to memory in order to do well on the test. And similarly, you're going to have to become very comfortable solving for area and circumference by doing all the arithmetic by hand. And in this video, in addition to discussing these topics at length, I'm also going to show you how to do all that arithmetic. So all that said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so before we get started with a few examples of finding the circumference of a circle, we do have to understand a few definitions related to circles. First, I want to point out that the radius of a circle is the distance from the center point on a circle to the edge on a circle. So again, if we had this circle right here with this center point here, the distance from this center point to the edge of the circle would be its radius. Okay. Similarly, the distance from one side of the circle to the other side of the circle and through the center point of the circle, so a line like this going from this edge through the center to this edge, would be called the diameter of the circle. And as you can see, more often than not, diameter and radius are abbreviated with the letters R and D respectively. These two, it turns out, are interrelated. That is to say, the diameter is always twice as long as the radius of a circle. Okay. In addition, I also want to point out that the circumference is the distance around the circle. So imagine if you were walking and you started at this point here and you walked in a complete circle. That distance along the path that you walked would be the circumference of the circle. Similarly, imagine that same walking path and there was a field inside this walking path. That entire field inside this walking path, which I'm going to highlight here, would be the area of the circle. Okay? So with those concepts in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples. All right, so the formula to find the circumference of a circle is given as circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times a radius. In light of the fact we're going to be working out everything by hand, and on the ASVAB you're going to have to work out everything by hand, we're always going to set pi equal to 3.14. Okay, so as we do today's math, that's what we'll use in place of pi. And again, just take note of the fact that you can solve for the circumference whether you're given the radius or diameter. Again, if you're given its diameter, you're going to use this formula, circumference equals pi times diameter. And if you're given a circle's radius, you're going to use the formula 2 pi r. So with those things mentioned, let's go ahead and do a practice problem. Example number 1 says find the circumference of a circle. And as you can see in this case, this circle has a radius of 4 inches. And in light of that, we're going to make use of this formula, circumference equals 2 pi r. And it's just really a matter of plugging things in. So circumference equals 2 pi times the radius, which is 4. And again, before we multiply things out, we're going to simplify as much as possible. More specifically, I'm going to multiply 2 times 4, which is 8. So this is going to be 8 pi. And now we're going to have to do arithmetic to solve this one. Again, we're working everything out by hand, so pi is going to be 3.14. So off to the side, I'm going to work out 3.14 times 8. That is, I'm going to do multiplication of a decimal times a whole number. And this is where most people get tripped up on the ASVAB. They get to this point, and they don't see 8 pi as an answer. And they're not quite sure how to do this math since they probably haven't done it since elementary school. So it's actually very easy. What you do is you take your decimal, 3.14 in this case, and you make it into a whole number by shifting its decimals to the right accordingly. In this case, we're going to have to shift the decimal in 3.14 2 times to the right to make 3.14 314. I'm going to take note of how many times I shifted that decimal place, notably 2 times. Then I'm going to rewrite this, so it's going to be 314 times 8. After I do this math, I'm going to shift the decimal back into the left twice. So I shifted it to the right up here. When I solve this one, after I'm done, I'm going to shift it back into the left. Okay, so 4 times 8 is 32. Let's carry the 3. 8 times 1 is 8, 9, 10, 11. Carry the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, 25. Shift your decimal back in 2 times. 1, 2. So we can see the circumference in this case is going to be 25.12. Okay, so that's all there is to finding the circumference. Again, identify whether you're going to use pi times diameter or 2 pi r. Plug things in, do your arithmetic as needed, and you're done. All right, in light of the fact that I did an example for you and this is pretty easy to understand, it's a good idea to pause the video, attempt to work out these 3 problems on your own, and then resume playing the video to see if you and I came up with the same answers in the same way. So that said, I'm going to move on to number 1. Okay, so we're told, according to the instructions, to find the circumference of the circle. And for number 1, we can see that we have been given a radius of 6 centimeters. So in light of that, I know I'm going to use the circumference formula. Circumference equals 2 pi r, where r, of course, stands for radius. I'm going to start plugging things in accordingly. 2 times pi times, again, the radius is 6. And again, let's multiply 2 times 6, which is going to be 12. And at this point, we now have to work this out. And again, since we're doing everything by hand, I'm going to let pi be 3.14. So 12 times pi is going to be 3.14 times 12. Again, I have to multiply a whole number, namely 12, by a decimal, namely 3.14. In order to do this, I'm going to have to shift the decimal place to make 3.14 a whole number. More specifically, I'm going to have to shift it 2 times to the right. That's going to take 3.14 and make it 314. And that's going to be multiplied by 12, albeit with 2 decimals to shift back into the left at the end. 4 times 2, of course, is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Since we're starting this number here, we have to drop down a 0 before we begin. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. So let's add. 0 plus 8 is 8. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. and 3 plus nothing is 3. Shift our 2 decimals back into the left, so 1, 2. So we can see the circumference in number 1 is 3768. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to number 2. Again, we're trying to find the circumference, and in this case, we're given the radius of 9 feet. Therefore, we know, like number 1, we're going to use the formula circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. So let's start by plugging things in. Again, 2 times pi. The radius in this case is 9. All right, let's simplify a little bit before we do the arithmetic. 9 times 2, of course, is 18 times pi. And again, we're letting pi be 3.14 since we're doing all this work by hand. So now we're going to do 3.14 times 18. And again, we're multiplying a decimal by a whole number, which means we're going to have to shift this decimal place 2 times to make 3.14 a whole number, notably 314. Of course, that's going to be multiplied by 18, albeit with 2 decimal places to shift back in to the left at the end. 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 1 is 8. 9, 10, 11. Carry your 1. 8 times 3 is 24. Plus 1 is 25. Since we're starting multiplication with this number, we have to drop down a 0 before we begin. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 3 is 3. Let's add. 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. Shift your 2 decimal places back in. 1, 2. So we can see the circumference is going to be 56, 52. All right, so again, these are easy concepts, but the ASVAB makes them more difficult by making you do the arithmetic by hand. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 3. Unlike for number 1 and 2, we're given the diameter for number 3. And in light of that, we're going to use this formula, circumference equals pi times diameter. Again, we know what the diameter is. It's 16, so this is going to be 16 times pi. At this point, we have to do the arithmetic. Notably, since we're doing everything by hand, we're going to let pi be 3.14, which is going to prompt us to do 3.14 times 16. Again, we're doing multiplication, albeit with a decimal and a whole number. So to proceed, we're going to have to shift this decimal place 2 times in 3.14 to make 3.14 314. So in reality, I'm working out 314 times 16, albeit with 2 decimals to shift back in to the left at the end. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry your 2. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is 18. Since we're starting this number, we have to add a 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And 3 times 1 is 3. We're getting a little crooked here. 4 plus 0 is 4. 8 plus 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to carry the 1. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Carry your 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Shift your decimals back in. So we can see the circumference in this case is going to be 50, 24. Okay, so again, nothing too hard. The hardest part about the ASVAB, in my opinion, is all the arithmetic you have to do. And I think that's one of the benefits of watching my videos. As I look around on YouTube, I do see quite a few videos in regard to circumference and area, and in virtually none of them do they discuss how to do the math by hand. So they're not really that helpful for the ASVAB. All right, so let's move on to finding the area of a circle. To find the area, we're going to use the formula area equals pi r squared, where r, not surprisingly, refers to the radius. There's only one formula to find the area. And in light of that, let's go ahead and work out example number 2. Again, area equals pi r squared. And as we did when we worked out questions for circumference, we're going to simply plug things in and work them out, do the arithmetic to work them out. Again, pi, the radius in this case is 7, so that's 7 squared. Area equals 7 squared is 49, so this is going to be 49 pi. And at this point, we have to do the arithmetic to work this out. Notably, we're doing 3.14 times 49. And again, I got 3.14 because whenever you work things out with pi by hand, you let pi equal 3.14. Again, we're doing multiplication with a decimal and a whole number. So that's going to prompt us to shift this decimal place twice to the right before we begin, which is going to make the problem be this. It's going to be 314 times 49, albeit with 2 decimals to shift back in to the left at the end. So let's go ahead and work this arithmetic out, and then we'll have our answer. 9 times 4 is 36. Carry the 3. 9 times 1 is 9, 10, 11, 12. Carry the 1. 9 times 3 is 27, so this is 28 when we add 1 to it. Add a 0 since we're starting this number. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then 4 times 3, of course, is 12. Let's add this all together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Carry your 1. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 1 plus nothing is just 1. And shift your 2 decimals back into the left. 1, 2. So the area is going to be 153.86 centimeters squared. Now, if you take a look, this is the answer that they got using pi, the exact value for pi in the calculator. Look how close we are, 153.86, 153.94. Okay, so again, 3.14 is a good approximation of the value of pi. Okay, we're not going to talk about this one. You're not going to have to do that on the ASVAB. It's going to require way too much work, considering you're doing everything by hand. That said, we are going to do number 4, 5, and 6. In light of the fact that, this is a video in which you're trying to get practice mastering these topics, now's a good point to pause the video, try to work these out on your own, and then resume playing the video to see if you and I came up with the same answers. That said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Number 4, for these questions, you can see we're being asked to find the area of a circle. And again, the area is pi times the radius squared. And pi, since we're doing everything by hand, is going to be 3.14. Let's go ahead and work out number 4. Again, number 4 is, the radius is 8, so this is going to be pi times, and let me throw the area symbol in there first. Area equals pi times 8 squared. This becomes area equals 8 squared is 64 pi. Okay, let's work that out by hand now. So we're going to take 64. Doing that backwards. We're going to take 3.14 and times it by 64. Again, since we're working this out by hand, we have to shift the decimals such that we make 3.14 314. And to do that, we're going to shift it 2 times. So in reality, I'm doing 314 times 64, albeit with 2 decimal places to shift back into the left at the end. 4 times 4 is 16, so we're going to carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, we're starting this number, so we have to add a 0 placeholder before we begin. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And 6 times 3 is 18. So let's work this out. 0 plus 6 is 6. 5 plus 4 is 9. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. And carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Shift our 2 decimal places back in. And as we can see, the area in this case is going to be approximately 200.96 inches squared. Okay, so that was number 4. Let's go ahead and do number 5. Again, we're finding the area given the radius of 3 centimeters. So that's going to look like this. Area equals pi times radius squared, where the radius is 3 centimeters. So let's plug that in. Area equals pi times the radius is 3 squared. So this is going to be area equals 3 squared is 9. So this is going to be 9 pi. Okay, so let's go ahead and work that off to the side. Again, in light of the fact we're doing multiplication with a decimal and whole number, we're going to have to shift decimal places. And again, we're doing 3.14 times 9 in this case. In order to do this, I'm going to shift the decimal place 2 times to make 3.14 314. So in reality, I'm doing 314 times 9, albeit with 2 decimal places to shift back into the left at the end. 4 times 9 is 36. Carry your 3. 9 times 1 is 9, 10, 11, 12. When you add 3 to it, carry your 1. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 1 is 28. Shift your 2 decimal places back in. 1, 2. So we can see the area for number 5 is going to be 28.26 centimeters squared. And again, that's an approximation since we approximated pi. All right, let's do number 6 over here. And again, we're trying to find the area of the circle. In this case, we're given its diameter. And as I briefly mentioned when I started this video, diameter is equal to 2 radius. Okay, we can use that to find what the radius is going to be in this case. Again, diameter equals 2 radius. The diameter in this case is 12. And again, we want the radius so we can plug it into the area formula. So to get r by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. This is going to cross out, leaving me with r equals 12 over 2, or 6. Okay, so again, that didn't come out well, so let's redo it. The radius is just 6 in this case, or half of its diameter. So with that, we can go ahead and work on this one. Again, we're using the formula area equals pi r squared. We found what r was, so let's plug it in. Area equals pi, radius is 6 squared. Therefore, we know this is going to be 6 squared, which is 36 pi. Let's go ahead and do this arithmetic. Again, we're doing 3.14 times 36. That is, we're multiplying a decimal by a whole number. So in order to do this, we're going to have to shift this decimal to the right. More specifically, we're going to have to shift it 2 times, which is going to make 3.14 the whole number 314. That's going to be multiplied by 36, albeit with 2 decimals to shift back into the left at the end. So let's keep working this out. And this is where most people are prone to make mistakes, including me. So if you see a mistake in my video, kindly point it out in the comment section below. 4 times 6 is going to be 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 2, plus 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is going to be 18. Let's add a 0 placeholder since we're starting this number. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry your 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And 3 times 3 is going to be 9. Let's add these together. 0 plus 4 is 4. 8 plus 2 is 10, so you have to carry a 1. 8 plus 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Plus 1 more is 13. Carry your 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. Shift 2 decimals in, and we can see that the area in this case is going to be 113.04 feet squared. And again, that's approximation since we use 3.14 for pi. Okay, again, a lot of work for these just because you have to do everything by hand. And that is the nature of the ASVAB. Nothing on the ASVAB is hard per se. Hardest part is doing all the work by hand. Okay, let's make some room so we can do this final topic we're going to talk about today. All right, now that we've talked about how to find the circumference as well as the area of a circle, let's talk about how to find the area of a sector of a circle. And as you can see in example number 4, we're asked to find the area of the blue sector, given this circle that has a radius of 9 meters and this central angle of 120 degrees. Now, while this information is helpful, this makes the process very tedious. In light of that, I like this formula that I posted at the top of this page, and notably the area of a sector is equal to theta, and I'll talk about what theta is in just a second, over 360, and that's times pi r squared. Okay, so as you can see in this diagram over here, theta simply refers to the measure of the central angle. So if we take a look at our example, theta in this case would be 120 degrees. And similarly, we already know what pi r squared is. Again, pi r squared is how you find the area of a circle. So in essence, what this formula says is take the measure of the angle, place it over 360, and multiply it by the total area of the circle, and that will give you the measure of the area of a circle. It's just a proportion. You're finding the proportion of the circle. So with all that said, let's go ahead and just plug things in and solve. Again, we know theta in this case is given as 120 degrees, so we'll plug in 120 over 360. We know what pi is. We're using 3.14 to approximate that. We know the radius in this case is 9, so let's plug that in. Again, this is going to be squared. Let's simplify this just so it doesn't look as intimidating as it does now. Let's start by working on this left side. Again, we can cross out these corresponding zeros, which will leave us with 12 over 36. And in addition to that, we can also reduce this in as much as 36 and 12 have a greatest common factor of 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 36 divided by 1 is 3. Okay, and again, this 9 squared is going to be 81. Of course, that's times pi. Okay, so at this point, we do have a choice as to what we can do. We can do 81 times pi and multiply that by 1/3. Or we can do 1/3 times 81 and then multiply that by pi. Either way, we're running into the problem with arithmetic again, where we have to do multiplication of whole numbers and decimals. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 81 times pi, and then I'll multiply that by 1/3. And again, pi is going to be 3.14 since we're approximating pi. That's going to be times 81. Again, I can't do this per se by hand, so I have to shift this decimal twice to the right to make 3.14, 314 times 81. Now let's work this out. And again, we're going to shift 2 decimal places into the left when we're done. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Add a 0 placeholder since we're starting this number. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 1 is 8. 9, 10, 11. Carry your 1. And 8 times 3 is 24. Plus 1 is 25. Let's add. 0 plus 4 is 4. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 5 plus nothing is 5. And 2 plus nothing is 2. Shift our 2 decimals back in. 1, 2. Okay, so in light of this, we know that 81 pi is 254.34. That said, again, finding the area of the sector by hand is very tedious because now I have to multiply this by 1/3. Okay, so let me say this. Do not approximate or estimate anything when you're finding the area or the circumference. Follow the steps as I did above. That said, in this case, it's okay to round 254.34 to just 254. Again, that's at the end of the day, your answer is going to be very close to what you'll see in the answer choices, and you'll still get it correct. So again, to round this, we look at this number, notably 3. Since it's less than 5, we round this down to just 254. Okay, so now this is going to be 1/3 times 254. Again, in case you haven't dealt with fractions in a while, what you can do is write 254 over 1. Again, anything over 1 is itself, and then cross multiply, or multiply straight across, not cross multiply, multiply straight across. That's going to give you 254 over 3. Now we actually have to do long division since all fractions can be regarded as long division. And more specifically, we're going to do 254. And let me give myself some more space in case this one gets a little hairy. We got 254 divided by 3. Okay? Now we're doing the long division. We're asking ourselves, how many times does 3 go into 2? It doesn't. How many times does 3 go into 25 without going over? The answer to that, of course, is going to be 8. 8 times 3 is 24, so let's subtract. 25 minus 24 is 1. You drop down this 4. Now the question is, how many times does, and let me move up a little bit, how many times does 3 go into 14 without going over? 3 times 4 will be 12. 3 times 5 would be 15, which is too big. So we're going to put 4 here. 3 times 4, as I mentioned, is 12. We're going to subtract 12 from 14, which is going to be 2. 3 doesn't go into 2, so we have to add a 0. And in doing so, we have to bring up a decimal. 3 goes into 26 times without going over. 6 times 3 is 18. And if we keep working this out, we can see that this is going to be 6666 repeated. So in light of that, we can round this to 84.67. Okay, and as you can see, that's also what they came up with. Again, in light of the fact you're doing all of this by hand, there's no way to get around the fact that you're going to have to do multiplication with decimals and then some multiplication with fractions. And again, as I stress in all my videos, the ASVAB is not a hard test. In order to be successful on it, though, you have to be able to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, including with decimals and fractions. And this video it's turning out is a good review of that. All right, so at this point in the video, I'd like you to pause the video, try to work out question 9 on your own, resume playing the video to see if you and I came up with the same answer. Let me stress this, we're not going to do as many practice problems for finding the area of a sector of a circle. Again, whereas the first 2 topics in this video are almost certain to appear on the ASVAB, this final topic has a lower likelihood of showing up on the ASVAB, and so in light of that, we're just going to do one additional practice problem. That said, let's go ahead and get started. Again, it's always helpful to discuss what you have going on before you try to work things out. Again, we're given this circle with a radius of 2 feet, so our r is going to be 2 feet, and a central angle measurement of 60 degrees. So we know theta is going to be 60 degrees. And again, even though it's not on the screen, we should recall that the to find the area of a sector, we use the formula theta over 360 times pi r squared. There are again 360 degrees in a circle. Theta is the number of degrees that correspond to the area of the sector, and pi r squared, of course, is the area of the entire circle. So with that, let's plug things in. Again, theta, as I mentioned, is 60. That's going to be over 360. Pi, we're not going to do anything with yet since we're not doing the arithmetic yet. And this radius is 2 squared. Let's, as I did above, reduce this before we do the arithmetic. That way everything's nice and simplified before we get into that. I can cross out these corresponding zeros. And similarly, that will leave me with 6 over 36. Should recognize that 6 and 36 have a greatest common factor of 6, which enables you to reduce this even further by dividing 6 by 6, which is 1, and 36 by 6, which is 6. Again, 2 squared is 4, so this becomes 4 pi. In other words, the answer to this one is going to be 1/6 times 4 pi. Let's go ahead and work out what 4 pi is, and then multiply that by 1/6. And we'll do 4 pi over here. Again, we're going to do 3.14 times 4. And in light of the fact we're multiplying a decimal by a whole number, we have to shift this decimal to the right 2 times, which is going to make 3.14 314. Again, that's going to be multiplied by 4, albeit with 2 decimals to shift back in at the end. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 4 times 3 is 12. So this is going to be, shift our 2 decimal places back in. So this is going to be equivalent to this. 1/6 times 12.56. And again, I know above I round it, but in light of the fact this one's pretty straightforward to do, let's go ahead and do the division or the multiplication with the decimals in it. Again, we have 1/6 times 12.56. We can simply rewrite this, and let me do this off to the side here since I'm going to put the answer right here. Again, we have 1/6 times 12.56. In order to multiply these fractions, I can put 12.56 over 1. And if you remember how to multiply fractions, you then multiply straight across. That is, you do 1 times 12.56, which is just 12.56, and 1 times 6, which is just 6. And at this point, now you have to realize that all fractions can be regarded as long division. So notably, you can do 12.56 divided by 6. which is actually fairly simple to do. As I say in all my videos where I work on decimals and long division, as long as the decimal's inside this division bracket, you don't have to shift any decimal places, and you can just proceed as normal. As a matter of fact, you can even just bring your decimal right up there. Okay, so now we're asking ourselves, how many times does 6 go into 1 without going over? It doesn't. How many times does 6 go into 12 without going over? That's going to be 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12, so we're going to subtract. 12 minus 12 is 0, but we still got to drop down this 5, and we got to drop down this 6. Now the question is, how many times does 6 go into 5? It doesn't. How many times does 6 go into 56 without going over? And again, since 6 doesn't go into 5, we'd have to put a 0 there. How many times does 6 go into 56 without going over? That, of course, is going to be, let's think about it, 6 times 10 will give you 60, whereas 6 times 9 will give you 54. So this is going to be 9 here. 6 times 9 is 54. Subtract 56 minus 54 is 2. And for our purposes, this is all we really need. So the answer to this one is going to be 2.09. Okay, so let's look at the word problem number 21. It says cranberries. To harvest cranberries, the field is flooded so that berries float. What area of cranberries can be gathered into a circular region with a radius of 5.5 meters? And I always think it's helpful to try to illustrate what's going on before I solve these word problems. In this case, we know we're dealing with a circle. And more specifically, we know this circle has a radius of 5.5 meters. And as you can see, it's asking us to find the area of cranberries that can fit into this circle with this radius. So in this case, we're simply going to find the area of this circle, and that's going to be area equals pi r squared. Again, we know the radius, of course, is going to be 5.5 squared. Again, so far we've done everything where this number has been a whole number, so it's been fairly easy. But again, on the ASVAB, you might come across a problem in which they give you this as a decimal. So let's go ahead and work that out. Again, 5.5 squared is the same as 5.5 times 5.5, which means we're multiplying a decimal by a decimal. Just like we've been doing above, we have to shift these decimals such that it makes 5.5 here and here whole numbers. So I'm going to shift it one time there to make 5.555, and there 5.5 to be 55. So in total, I shift it 2 decimal places. So in reality, I'm working out this problem, 55 times 55, albeit with 2 decimals to shift back in at the end. All right, so let's work this out. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry your 2. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 25, 26, 27. Drop down a 0 placeholder since we're starting here. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry your 2. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27. Let's add. 0 plus 5 is 5. 7 plus 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Carry your 1. 7 plus 2 plus 1 is going to be 10. Carry your 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Add your 2 decimals back in. 1, 2. So this becomes area equals 30.25 times, and I don't know why I'm putting parentheses there, times pi. And now we have to solve that. And again, that's going to be 30.25 times 3.14. That is, we're multiplying, again, 2 decimals by each other. So in order to do this, we're going to shift the decimals in each of these numbers accordingly to make them whole numbers. So I'm going to shift it 2 times there, and I'm going to shift this decimal 2 times there. So in total, I shifted my decimal place 4 times to make these decimals whole numbers. And in light of the fact that this bottom number is now bigger than this top number, I'm actually going to do this, 3,025 times 314, albeit with 4 decimals to shift back in at the end once I'm done with all this. That is, I'm multiplying a 4-digit integer by a 3-digit integer, which you will encounter on the ASVAB. The best course of action is to take your time and do this accurately. So let's go ahead and do that. 5 times 4 is 20, so we add a 0 there and carry our 2. 4 times 2 is 8, 9, 10, so we add a 0 there, carry our 1. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 4 times 3 is 12. Since we're starting this number, we add 1 placeholder. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is, or 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times nothing is 0. And then 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, so that's that one. Now that we're starting this number, we have to add 2 placeholders before we get started. And let's work this out now. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry your 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 0 is 0. And 3 times 3 is 9. Let's go ahead and add all of this up. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 5 plus 0 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is 8. 2 plus nothing plus 7 is 9. 1 plus 3 plus nothing is 4. And 9 plus nothing is 9. Shift our 4 decimal places back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can see the area in this case is going to be 94.9850 meters squared. Okay, and that is how you would find the area for that. Again, I know this video contained a lot of tedious math, but again, you're going to feel that way when you take the ASVAB. Again, the hardest part is not the mathematics per se, it's the arithmetic that usually trips people up. I hope you found this video helpful. As if you like the content that I'm posting, by all means consider subscribing to my channel. In addition, you're more than welcome to leave some feedback in the comments section below. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and cut you loose. Konnichiwa.